Yo, what's up, Diamond family? It's your man VV, and welcome back to the VVS Academy. As you guys know, I'm here every week dropping off gems, teaching you to record and makes your music better. So if that sounds good to you, stick around. Look, man, I've got a really crazy video for you guys today. Today, we're talking all about R&B vocal effects. All right, so if you want your vocals to go from dry and dull and boring to having some space, some ambiance, and some color, this is the video for you. I'm gonna be showing you guys how to get that classic modern R&B sound. I'll be showing you guys how to get that recognizable modern industry R&B sound right away. So look, if you're still, I'll be showing you guys how to get that instantly recognizable modern R&B industry sound. All right, so I'm not even going to over talk it, but look, if you're struggling to get your vocals to sit inside of the beat and balance themselves out perfectly every single time, check out my free course down below. It's going to completely change the game for you. It's going to teach you my simple technique for balancing out the vocals and the beat perfectly every single time. It's what I did on this track, and it's why it sounds so good. So I'm not even going to over talk it. Let's jump right into the track and see what we can do. Let's get it.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
Cool. So I think this sounds really good with the effects already dialed in. I'm going to bypass the effects, and I think it's going to give you a better idea of what the vocal sounds like. So I'm going to my effects bus, take off all the echoes, reverbs, chords, everything that we have, and let's listen to the vocal without any effects. And meanwhile, we also haven't affected the vocal at all. There's no compression, there's no EQ or anything like that. This is the raw vocal that we recorded. It's only got tune on it, so you get a better idea, of what we're actually working with. We're not really going to work on controlling or fixing the vocal. We're only going to focus on the effects that we add to give the vocal its space and ambience and color. So let's listen without any of those effects.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
So one thing that I've really noticed is that the song sounds good even without the effects. It's because she gave a really good performance. So it's really important. If you look here, these are all the takes that we kept. Well, we did a lot more than this. These are the ones that we felt like, oh, we could run with this one, but let's do one more just in case. And you want to take that extra time to make sure that you're recording the absolute best takes you can get. Like, you're getting the best performance from the artist that you can get, because that's going to make the absolute biggest difference. A bad recording is going to take some fixing, and it's never going to be as good as just a really great recording from the beginning. So make sure that you're giving your best effort. You're getting the best possible performance from the takes, from the ones that you plan on keeping. Keep working at it, man. Don't just settle. Keep going. If you feel like you can get better, keep going until you get better takes, because you want to get the absolute best take and then make those ones shine. All right, so we've got everything dialed in here. Like I said, the tune sounds good. Let's dive into the effects that we used. So the first one that we used, let's go ahead and bypass all of these because we're going to bring the effects bus back. All right, so this reverb that we have now, before the reverb, what I like to add before the actual effect is some type of saturation. And that's because it's going to help your vocal to hit the reverb a little bit harder, is the way I explain it. But it just gives the reverb a little more to grab onto. When the vocal's a little more saturated, a little more slightly distorted even, it's just got some more artifact and some more body and grit to it, the reverb responds better. So I'm going to show you what I have set up here, and I'll show you the kind of before and after of what it does. So we've got a channel strip emulation here that we're sending all of our tracks through. Then we're going to follow that up with a Blue Stripe 1176. The reason I chose this compressor, which I rarely use on like an R&B vocal, I don't think is that necessary for R&B vocals. This cuts through the mix really well. And R&B, we really want more of a smooth, gentle sound more often than not. And so a lot of times I'll go with the SSL compressor for R&B. Like if I were to work on the lead vocal right now, I would probably rely heavily on this FG Dynamics. But since we're not doing that, we're working on the effects, and we want to get as much color and as much artifact and as much saturation from the vocal as possible, we're going with this Blue 1176. And we're following that up with just a straight saturation box, the Revival. We're adding some thickness and some shimmer, and that really helps the vocal to hit the EQ a little bit more. It makes a bigger impact when it hits the EQ, and therefore we hear more of it. The EQ has more texture, more feeling, and it separates itself from the actual vocal or the lead vocal better. So really think about adding some saturation beforehand. If you don't want to go the Slate Digital route, a quick way to do it, grab the Slate MV, not the Slate. A quick way to do it, grab the Waves MV2 and use the Waves MV2 to add your saturation. And that's a great way to do the same thing. So I did that same exact channel strip right before my storage filter as well. It's just a copy of the same channel strip in the VMR that's going to help it to hit this plugin a little bit harder as well. So let's dive into the reverb settings. Now, the main things that I want you to focus on, regardless of the reverb that you use, are the pre-delay and the decay time. Those are going to be the biggest things that you really need to focus on. You can mess with the EQ, but you can add a plugin for that. You know what I mean? You can mess with like every reverb isn't going to have the width and the chorus and the attack and all those kinds of things. Things you really want to focus on are the decay time as well as the pre-delay. So what are they? The decay time is going to tell the reverb when it ends. So it won't just ring out forever. It'll go for, in this case, 1.88 seconds or almost 2 seconds before it dies off. And it'll slowly die off, so it won't just stay loud for one, and as soon as it hits 1.88, it just falls off a cliff, but it'll start to trail off, and by 1.88 seconds, you won't hear any more reverb, right? So we want to make sure that we kind of time it specific to the song. So I'm going to show you how this sounds if we go with a slower or shorter reverb.
Days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
Now let's go back up to around 2 seconds where we were at 1.88.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love.
And did you notice what happened? I'm gonna go back and forth one more time and see if you'll notice.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame.
So when we went for the shorter reverb, it was 0.45, so basically half of a second. The vocals just sounded smaller and like she was in a tighter, more confined space. But once we bumped the space or the time up, the decay time, to 1.8, it gave it so much more space. It's like the vocal could breathe. It felt like she was in a much bigger, much more open space, and it allowed me to connect with the vocal a little bit better. I just heard too much kind of slapping around at the half-second mark. Like I could hear the reverb ending a little bit, and so it didn't have time to kind of fade out gracefully like it does with the 1.8 second. So I think that's where we want to go. I like the way that sounds. So that's what your decay time is. The next one is pre-delay, and what this does is it gives your signal time to come through clearly before the reverb attaches. So it keeps your vocal from getting pushed back in the mix quite as much. I'll show you by exaggerating it. So I'm going to go a super long pre-delay and then I'll go short.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame.
And so you'll notice that if you push the pre-delay too much, it starts to act like an echo, because that's what it is. Echo is just delay. You're delaying the signal and playing it back. So if we add too much pre-delay, it's going to delay the signal so much that it sounds like an echo. But if we bring it somewhere more reasonable, you start to get that clarity that you got, like your vocal can cut through, but it doesn't delay the signal so much that it sounds like it's echoing, because that's not our intention right here. So let's try to dial in a good spot for it.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
Cool. I like the way that sounds. So we got our reverb feeling good. We've placed her in a nice space. It sounds open. It sounds big. It sounds a little bit lush. Those are the things that we want from her vocal. But how do we take it a step further? So for this, I grabbed a plugin that comes with the Slate bundle, and it's called the Storage Filter. It's from producer Scott Storch, and it does a lot of different effects within one plugin. So I'm going to show you guys what it's doing. Let's bring it in.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
Let's boost it so you can hear it, like kind of dramatically what's going on.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.
And as you can hear, the backgrounds get more of this effect than the lead does. But what it's really doing is adding some phase and spread and chorus. And really what it is just adding some texture and interest to the back of the mix, because this is very pushed back in the mix, but it keeps it from feeling empty back there. And so what it does is just fill in the space a little bit more and help the song just fill out the way that we need it to. So let's listen again with the dramatics and pay special attention to the backgrounds and the ad-libs, and you'll notice that they get a lot more of this effect than the lead vocal does.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted. These days, I don't really feel the same. I'm happy and I know I'm loving.
So it just gives you a little bit more interest, a little bit more to tickle your ear a little bit, just to kind of keep the listener engaged. And those things are important because as the song goes on, you just start to get comfortable with it. But when you add things that keep you engaged and keep you listening, you don't get as comfortable with the song. And really you want to listen to it again so your brain can kind of really dig through, like, what all did I hear? What all did I find in that song? You want to give people something to find in your songs, right? So these are the two major ambient effects that I use. Now, of course, there's some echoes. There's some echoes or delays all through the track, and that's a good thing to have as well, just because it fills in the space. But they really are sparing because I want the vocal to focus on the lead. And so that's one thing that you want to make sure that you do in R&B is keep your delays and your echoes out of the way so that the emotion and the feeling of the lead vocal can always come through. It can always be felt. So let's listen with our echoes and delays in here.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted. These days, I don't really feel the same. I'm happy.
And as you notice, the subtle effects of these echoes and things, you hear them much more after the track stops. But they're really in the background, just filling things up and filling in space. It's more of a thing of if it wasn't there, you would notice that something was off. And that is really kind of how you want to build your effects. You don't want them so obvious that they're in your face and they're burying the lead vocal. But you do want them to the point that if they were missing, you would miss them. Look, man, these are the simple tips I'm giving you guys week in and week out for how to perfect your music. And if you need a little bit more help, drop me a line down below. My name is Vivi, and I'm here for you. Remember to stay humble and make diamonds only. Peace.
These days, I don't really feel the same. I just want some love and fame. These days, I don't take myself for granted.